The interstate stretched endlessly before him, a gray ribbon cutting through a landscape of barren fields and skeletal trees. Jack had been driving for hours, his eyes growing heavy as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. His back ached from the stiff driver's seat, and his fingers were cramped from gripping the steering wheel too tightly. He needed a break. When the sign for a rest stop appeared, Jack exhaled in relief. Rest area 1 mile, it promised. The timing was perfect. He could stretch his legs, use the bathroom, and grab a soda to wake himself up. His destination was still hours away, and the last thing he needed was to fall asleep behind the wheel. As he pulled off the highway and into the parking lot, Jack noticed it was nearly deserted. A beat-up mud-spattered pickup truck was the only other vehicle parked crookedly at the far end. Its windows were tinted, making it impossible to see who, if anyone, was inside. Jack felt a slight unease, but brushed it off. It was just another traveler, probably resting like he was. He parked his sedan close to the entrance of the restrooms and glanced around. The place was eerily quiet. The only sound the hum of the fluorescent lights flickering above. He shivered, zipping up his jacket as a gust of cold wind cut through the air. He made his way to the bathroom, his footsteps echoing off the concrete walkway. The door creaked as he pushed it open, the smell of disinfectant and old pipes greeting him. It was dim inside, one of the bulbs buzzing ominously. He did his business quickly, not wanting to linger. As Jack washed his hands, he caught a glimpse of movement through the small, grimy window above the sinks. He looked up, squinting. The figure of a man stood outside, partially hidden behind a tree near the parking lot. It was hard to make out any details, but Jack could tell the man was tall and broad-shouldered, his posture rigid and unnatural. Jack felt a chill creep down his spine, but he shook it off. It's nothing, he told himself. Probably just some trucker stretching his legs. He dried his hands hastily and headed back to his car, keeping his head down and his pace brisk. He glanced once more at the pickup truck as he got into his sedan. It hadn't moved, but now he could see a pair of muddy work boots poking out from the shadow of the truck. Someone was standing just out of sight. Jack's heart skipped a beat, but he forced himself to look away. Don't be paranoid, he thought. He started the engine and pulled out of the parking lot, stealing one last look in his rearview mirror. The man stepped out from behind the tree, his face still obscured by shadows, his head turning to follow Jack's car as it merged back onto the highway. Jack's hands tightened on the steering wheel, a strange sense of unease settling in his gut. He cranked up the radio, letting the music fill the car, drowning out his anxious thoughts. He was being ridiculous, just tired and jumpy from the long drive. But then, he saw the headlights. Far behind him at first, just a faint glow against the darkening sky. But as the miles ticked by, the lights grew brighter, closer, until they were unmistakably from the same mud-spattered pickup truck he'd seen at the rest stop. Jack's pulse quickened. It was probably just a coincidence. The guy was traveling the same route. This was the main highway after all. Plenty of people used it. He told himself to calm down, but his eyes kept darting to the mirror, tracking the pickup's every move. The truck stayed behind him, matching his speed exactly. When Jack sped up, the pickup did the same. When he switched lanes, so did the truck. It never got closer than 2 car lengths, but never fell behind either. Jack's mouth went dry. His heart thudded painfully in his chest. This can't be happening, he thought, panic blooming in his stomach. He had heard stories about this kind of thing. A predator targeting a lone traveler. His rational mind fought to dismiss it, but the truck's persistence shattered any sense of coincidence. He tried to shake the tail by weaving through traffic, but the pickup followed his every move, never letting up. Jack's fingers ached from gripping the wheel so hard. His eyes were glued to the mirror, watching those unblinking headlights pursue him through the night. He didn't know where the nearest town was, or if there were any police nearby, but highway signs were sparse, and he hadn't seen another rest stop or gas station in miles. He could feel the walls closing in, the darkness pressing on all sides. A flash of red and blue light broke through the darkness ahead. A cop car was parked on the shoulder, its lights swirling in the night. Relief flooded Jack's body. He didn't think twice. He floored the gas pedal, speeding past the police cruiser at almost 20 miles over the limit. The cop's lights flared, and Jack watched in his mirror as the patrol car pulled out, its siren wailing. But the pickup truck slammed on its brakes, tires screeching, and veered off the road, disappearing down an unmarked dirt path. Jack's body sagged with relief. His hands were trembling as he pulled over, letting the police cruiser catch up. The officer approached his window cautiously, hand resting on his holster. "You in a hurry tonight, sir?" the officer asked, his flashlight shining into Jack's face. I was being followed," Jack stammered, his voice shaky. "That truck back there. He was chasing me. I didn't know what to do." The officer's face hardened. He nodded slowly, his eyes scanning the darkness where the pickup had vanished. "You did the right thing. This stretch of road has seen some trouble lately. We'll send someone to check it out." Jack exhaled shakily, his whole body trembling with the adrenaline. "Thank you," he whispered, barely able to speak. The officer gave him a long measuring look before tipping his hat. "Stay safe, son, and stick to well-lit roads." Jack nodded, his heart finally beginning to slow. He watched the officer head back to his cruiser, the red and blue lights flashing in the dark. He took a deep breath, steadying himself, before merging back onto the highway. He didn't see the pickup truck again that night, but he didn't stop driving either, not until he reached the bright lights of the next town, the safety of civilization wrapping around him like a warm blanket. As he pulled into a crowded motel parking lot, Jack's eyes flicked to his rearview mirror one last time, half expecting to see those menacing headlights lurking in the shadows. But the night was quiet, the road behind him empty. He let out a long, shuddering breath and turned off the engine, his body finally sagging with exhaustion. Safe at last. Thanks for joining us on the open road, where anything can happen and there's always another adventure right around the corner. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the open road.